guys, it's Holly. So today I wanted to talk about my most anticipated LEGO Harry Potter set of this year, and that is the Shrieking Shack, which is set 76407, and this will retail for $90 US and 150 Australian. And this is a set that I have wanted to be made for a very long time, which is why it is definitely my most excited. It also, in my opinion, looks amazing. It's definitely not what I expected. Like, I didn't think that they would ever do like another sort of like Whomping Willow, as well as like the whole moody transformation scene. Like, I thought we would just get the shack. So I'm actually really interested to sort of take a look at this. The minifigure selection really excites me, as well as just the pieces in this set. I have very high hopes, and I'm also very nervous that they're sort of going to be crushed and just let down, but I'm keeping my hopes up, so let's go and have a look at it. Here is the entire Shrieking Shack all built up, besides, of course, the Grimm, Scabbers, and the Lupin minifigure, as I didn't want to clutter it up with too many duplicates of the characters, even for this little tiny setup that I've got going on here. And overall, I mean, this set did impress me, and I had some incredibly high standards. I definitely think there are a couple things that I would personally want to improve, but even then, that's not saying that what we've got is bad. I actually really enjoy this set, and as a whole, I think it creates a spectacular scene. There's a lot of incredible pieces, and most importantly, there are so many details in essentially what is a pretty small looking house, as well as a pretty small looking side build, but all of them feel really authentic. They all feel like they go together as well to create this very complete set, and overall I am just absolutely blown away. And like I said, this is a set that I have wanted for a very long time. I've had my eye on the original for years, so in general I do have, I guess, just a lot more passion behind this set than you may personally have, but overall I think this is a fantastic product. So let's get into it, starting off with the minifigures. First up, would you believe that there is a LEGO Harry Potter minifigure in this LEGO Harry Potter set? And he is nothing special or nothing new. He's the exact same one from the hospital wing. His torso is nothing special. This is like the third version of it we've gotten. His head, again, is nothing special. I mean, chances are you might already have this figure, but honestly, I don't mind it being a duplicate because it is needed for this set. He does wear this outfit, and it is accurate to the film, so no complaints. Speaking of minifigures who are exactly the same, we also have Hermione Granger, who again is the same version from the hospital wing, which, just like Harry, I expect nothing less here. She doesn't have that new face, neither does Harry, that was featured in the Sirius Black Escape, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't really mind. I mean, it fits this scene. Again, no complaints. And rounding out our duplicates, we have Ron Weasley, and instead of it being the exact same as the hospital wing, this version is actually the exact same from Hagrid's Heart. I mean, he's got the same reused torso, same reused head, hair, and legs, and again, nothing too special. Again, it's also accurate. Really, there's not much variation or not much to say about these three figures. Moving on to our Marauders though, and first up we have Sirius Black, and you might think that you've probably already got this minifigure from a couple years ago. Well, actually, you're wrong. He is slightly different, as his torso print is very different, and he also doesn't have leg printing, so he's actually slightly worse than the one we've already got, which was in a cheaper set, and then a ton of books. So if you don't have that figure and you want to get this set, I highly recommend maybe picking up one of those like super cheap books, so you can have a much better and more accurate version of Sirius Black. But despite saying all of that, I mean, he is detailed, it fits the story. I just don't know why we downgraded. Like, I would have preferred them to reuse him as well with his leg printing, just to feel like you're getting a tiny bit more value. I mean, the figure already existed. I don't think we necessarily needed a brand new print for him, but I mean, alright, I guess. One thing that is brand new, although, or semi-brand new, is the Grimm, who has finally appeared in LEGO form. And I was really excited for the Grimm until I realized they were just reusing the German Shepherd mold. I mean, I just feel like this doesn't quite work for Sirius. Like, he was a very shaggy dog, and unless you're looking at it from the sides and sort of see that neck printing, you really don't get that impression with this piece. I mean, I'm glad we've gotten him. He hasn't appeared since, like, the Night Bus in, like, the 2004 versions, and even then, it was just a grey dog. So this is definitely a step up, firstly being a more accurate colour and actually having some printing on him, but I really wish we got a brand new mould for him. I mean, we've had new moulds for Harry Potter before, especially if we're saving some budget here using like a different Sirius with legs. I mean, just reuse the guy and give us some more budget for a new mould for the Grimm. I feel like it would really pay off here, but I mean, he's in the set, so that is something that I'm really excited about because I've been waiting for that, but it could have been a little bit better. Next up, we have the worst best friend in the history of best friends, and that is Peter Pettigrew, who absolutely sold his friends out because, I guess his animator suggests he is a rat. And I really like the torso and leg printing on him. It is actually slightly different from the version that we saw in The Rise of Voldemort. There's mostly the same sort of concept going on, but it's just a tiny bit different, especially in his torso. Like, it looks a lot more run down and tatty, especially on the neckline, and I think it matches him perfectly, though it is such a shame to see that they didn't update the hair and they've gone for that same Prince of Persia sort of Severus Snape cut in dark orange, especially when we have the mullet piece. It would have just been perfect for him, and again, I'm gonna have to go out and swap that over, but from the looks of things too, he does have a new head. I can't actually remember, and I forgot to check with The Rise of Voldemort, but it definitely looks a bit more rat-like and a lot more scared than the other times that we've gotten him. I say times, I mean The Rise of Voldemort, at least in recent years, and overall the figure's really nice, and just like Sirius, does come along with his animagus form being the tiny little rat of Scabbers, who unfortunately does not have the hairprint on the top like in the CMF. It's just the regular rat piece, but I'm really glad that LEGO did go and include each of the characters and their alternate forms in this set. And lastly is my favourite Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, and probably one of the most exciting characters in this set, and that is Professor Lupin, and he has a brand new design again with a new torso and new legs, which is really good to see. He's also got a brand new face print, and for some reason this hairpiece in particular, unlike my other versions, feels very soft, like it's matte. It's not that sort of regular shiny plastic, and there's a lot more moulding lines in the top of the head, which is quite frustrating, but overall, Lupin is incredible. I love his alternate face, which again, I'm pretty sure is brand new and is different to the one in the Hogwarts Express. However, I'm not 100% sure. I love the torso detailing and overall how run down and tatty it is. I just love Lupin as a character, and I think this minifigure is incredible. But of course, the one we've all been waiting for is Werewolf Lupin, and this guy is incredible. I do wish, though, that the color was more accurate. It's just the dark tan doesn't work, I don't think. I mean, in the movies, he definitely looked a lot more grey. At the set tour, the models and the robots, they all looked grey rather than dark tan. I honestly think that maybe this colour was chosen just so that they didn't have to remold the sort of fawn legs that are used in the Demogorgon sort of thing. I think that might have been a thing. It might have been a very budget-conscious decision, as that way you only really need to make the torso and recolor that wolf head, which even then, I feel like the wolf head could have been better if it was his own custom thing, but I don't necessarily mind them using this piece. I think it works well, and I love the printing on it, and it's so exciting to actually finally have Werewolf Lupin again, and it actually be its own figure as well, and not just a random werewolf head that's thrown in to go alongside Lupin himself. Despite what I originally thought was going to happen when I sort of pitched around the idea of LEGO remaking this set, we actually get 3 different side builds instead of just one giant Shrieking Shack, as this is the Shrieking Shack and the Whomping Willow. You also get this tiny little fence at the front, and overall it feels like everything really fits in completely together, which I really like. The whole thing is very cohesive, which for usually with sets with side builds, sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Like, I feel like you can lay out everything in a really cohesive manner, which is really, really good. Usually Harry Potter is pretty good with that stuff, like I look at the Ministry of Magic, for example, and unlike the Burrow, this sort of really skinny, minimal piece side build actually feels like it's got a bit of substance to it and doesn't feel like it was just thrown in there, which, considering the low piece count, I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen, but overall, it just flows really, really nicely. Of course, as always, starting off with the smallest aspect of the build, we have the tiny little fence, which really does not have very many pieces, nor is it overall that interesting, but I love the fact that it matches the color scheme really nicely. It's also something that you sort of do see in the film. I really love these little stickered wooden panels. I think they look fantastic, as well as just the build-up of snow. I honestly feel like this very well could have been a build that is sort of just like thrown in the set in order to get some extra pieces in there and sort of bulk it up a bit, but even then, at least in this set, it feels very much like it fits and that it matches, and I actually overall really like the design of it. Much more of a prominent side build, though, is the actual Whomping Willow build itself, and I'm actually shocked that this exists. especially considering it hasn't been too long since we got a Whomping Willow, but this one is very, very different in style. Firstly, it is at this complete angle, which unfortunately you can't really move. It's very much just like sat at this angle, as at the back, I guess, is where serious drags run through in order to get to the Shrieking Shack, including this little archway here. So it's really not the most, I guess, practical tree. I mean, it does look pretty dynamic, and I really like the way that the branches are done. There's a lot more posability. Nothing's falling off as easily this time either in comparison to the one from 2018, which I'm a huge fan of. I also love these giant stickered pieces on the base here. I overall think it's incredibly detailed, and for the most part, it's sort of got the same feel and design and even just size as that original Whomping Willow. I mean, personally, I still sort of prefer that one, but I reckon you could even shove the Fort Anglia in here if you really wanted to and have the whole thing working pretty well. The Whomping Willow on its opposing side does actually have this little knob though that you can spin, and all of the branches can twist and turn. Each little branch as well does have a wide range of motion both in the actual arm itself as well as these smaller vines at the top, so you could shove Hermione in there and sort of have the tree grab her and hold her and then rotate the entire thing around as if it's trying to throw her like in the movie. It is just a shame that it's at such an angle. Like, I really don't remember the Whomping Willow sort of pointing that direction. Like, the entire tree, yes, does move, but the stump for the most part just was pretty upright, so I'm not too sure why this decision was made. It's honestly not my favorite thing, but I don't think it's big enough for me to complain considering how good the actual design of the tree looks. On the other side of this build, there is this tiny little structure of a snowy rock, which really isn't all that interesting, complete with a little cloud build at the top, which is floating in the air, including a little glow-in-the-dark moon piece, which is just plain on its own. I mean, it's a pretty cool piece overall, and yes, that glow-in-the-dark feature does work relatively well. It's just a cute little play feature. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to it. So in order to get this play feature to work, you just stick Lupin on one side, and you can turn it around, and you've got Werewolf Lupin on the other side, ready to go and terrorize a bunch of school children. I honestly could have done without this entire build and have them just sort of have that little fence at the front, maybe build that up a bit more and build up the Shrieking Shack a bit more, but nevertheless, I think it sets a scene and does play a part in the story of this set, so I don't actually think it's that bad. I just feel like the rocky sort of structure could have been a bit better. I mean, it's a very simple play feature, but it works pretty nicely. There's also a hook on the end, I guess, if you wanted to somehow attach this. I mean, it's there. The option is there. So here is the Shrieking Shack build itself, and overall I think this thing is incredibly detailed. The front of it looks insane. I love the amount of snow detailing and icicles and just everything dripping off the front. I love how run down it is, using all of these sort of mixed of stickered and printed little wooden tiles here. I also love the use of the sticker detailing in order to represent some more cobblestones and snowfall, and overall, considering the amount of pieces being like just sort of like very basic bricks for the most part on this build, it looks incredible. I also love the fact that the entire top half is built sort of at a slant. You stick it on using some of those like round pieces, and the entire thing is sort of off axis. It really gives it sort of like a haunted, old, creaky house sort of feel, and I'm so impressed with this design, especially for the size. I do wish that it was just a tiny bit taller and we had like a really skinny, tall building. However, for the price we've got and considering all of the other accessories, I absolutely love how this turned out. And the most exciting part for me is that it's actually got a pretty darn good interior, especially considering how much we actually saw of it in the movie. But before we look at that, I really want to give you a good look of the exterior here. So the entire front of the shack really utilizes pretty much the exact same color scheme all the way throughout. You've got reddish brown, you've got dark brown, you've got dark tan, mixed in with a ton of white pieces to represent the snowfall. There are a couple of stickers on the outside, however most of them do remain on the inside, and running along the entire left-hand side is this chimney, which for the most part is pretty plain. It's just decorated with a couple of stickers up the side there in order to represent some more cobblestone with snow. Otherwise, it's pretty basic and pretty boring, but I really like the way that it is built onto the side, especially considering the entire building does rotate. I also love just the fact that the shack is built up using a variety of like these cone pieces and like round pieces, as well as just regular bricks, angled bricks, and overall it has a really interesting design to it. On the front you have this very run-down wooden door, complete with some additional wooden planks, and there are even some little steps leading up to it, which is pretty cute. And then just above that too, there is this little canopy section with two stick-hid panel pieces, both sort of have some roof detailing as well as some snow detailing, and then these little T-bar pieces at the bottom I guess are meant to represent more icicles or more snow falling off that section. On the right hand side at the bottom there is a clip in order to attach the Whomping Willow section of the build, which I will show you guys at the end, as well as this hinging door piece here that you can open up. It sort of gives you a flap, which I guess is sort of like the secret door side compartment thing, in order for all of the marauders, as well I guess in this case Harry, Ron and Hermione, to access the shack from the Whomping Willow. Turning it around on the inside, you can see that the base is sort of built up by one brick. It's elevated ever so slightly, but there's really nothing that interesting under there. And inside, at least on the bottom floor, it definitely isn't all that detailed. I mean, we didn't really see the bottom floor. It was very sort of like dusty with a ton of cobwebs. I kind of would have loved to have seen one of those cobweb pieces built in here somehow, or even like a spider or something crawling up the wall just to make it feel a tiny bit older. But there is another sort of stickered panel on the back of that same sort of like run-down wooden pattern to make it feel very, I guess, just more detailed. You've also got a stickered panel at the top, which sort of reminds me of an air vent. I mean, it's really nothing too special. Doesn't look that interesting, but it is nice for them to get a tiny bit more detail on such a very plain interior. On the left corner there is a silver one of those brand new chest pieces, complete with this little stud on the top. I really don't know why that's there. There's nothing supposed to attach to it. I just really think it's there for decoration. And then when you lift up the trunk, there are actually a tiny few things inside, that being a chocolate frog as well as a silver goblet. On the other side, we have another one of those white studs, so I guess it's just some like burnt down candles or maybe leftover snow or something. But there's a tiny little lantern at the bottom, a dark green chair, as well as a portrait on the wall of the Shrieking Shack itself, which actually is a really cool sticker piece. I'm not too sure what the purpose of this print is, but I love the fact that they've sort of replicated the build, as well as the little fence in this portrait here to have, again, hung up on the wall, giving it a tiny bit more extra detail. And then last but not least, we have the top level, which is incredibly detailed considering just the size and just even the amount that was included in that scene. There is so much of it represented here, which makes me so excited. Again, there's a bunch of those little white studs lying around, which again make me feel like it's burnt down candles, purely I guess just to show how run down this building is, as well as how old the whole thing is. Before we go into all of the intricate details, there are these three little stickered panels at the top there, hovering over the windows, again, just giving it a lot of sort of rundown detailing. They really didn't have to include it, but I love just the extra detail and attention that this set has. It makes it feel a lot more intricate and a lot more complete, and just like there was a lot more care into the creation of this model. Same deal with the left hand side, as there is a ton of like stickered panels here that sort of show things boarded up, as well as looking a bit moldy and sort of wet. We've also got a stickered portrait on the wall of just, I guess, just some random sort of wizard or witch or something, to which it looks like they're on a broom. Now in the back corner, one of the first details is actually this micro build of a grand piano, which I thought was really clever, as considering when Peter Pettigrew was trying to escape while he was Skill Scabbers, he's sort of crawling along and you have that moment in the music where he stamps on the keys and you sort of have that awkward like pitch. I really, really love that, and considering the amount of things that they probably could have chosen to fit in here, I think the piano was a great choice in comparison to something like the bed that Snape crashes into. On the opposing side, we have that little tiny room, I guess, that is represented here, where you've got a burnt out fireplace, where there's not really much going on. There's also some exposed studs on the wall, which I'm not 100% sure why that is. I mean, looking at it, I sort of just feel like it looks like it's built wrong, even though that is in the instructions for the fireplace to be like that. You've also got a tiny little, I guess, sort of bedside table sort of thing, like countertop over there with two studs, as well as the little green bed where Sirius drops off Ron Weasley in order for him to just sort of rest while he deals with Peter Pettigrew, which I thought was really cool. On the walls, each side has one of these little lampposts built into the wall, and then hanging above the fireplace, you have a little stickered tile of a map, which I'm not exactly sure what this map is of. I mean, it's been a while since I've read this book and a while since I've watched the movie and really paid attention to the details on the walls of this particular scene, despite it being my favorite scene, but it's a really nice sticker detail and I just wish I knew exactly what it meant. Now, like I said too, there is a little hook in order for you to attach it to this section of the building, so you can just clip it on there and have the whole thing sort of connect and flow together in order to make it easier to display, which I actually really enjoy. It wasn't something that I felt like they necessarily needed to add, and it's not something I really noticed in any of the product images either, but it's a really neat detail just for people who like to display their sets, as at the end of the day, I feel like Harry Potter, just like Star Wars, sort of hits that in between where there are a lot of adults and AFOLs looking for models to display of their favorite movies, but there are also quite a few kids that want to get these things and play with them. So that is the entire Shrieking Shack, and just like a majority of the Harry Potter wave, I absolutely love this set. There is so much detail, so much care, and so much time and effort that feels like was poured into this set and its design. The model of the Shrieking Shack itself, I love. I just wish, again, that it was just a tiny bit taller and that we didn't have the side build. But in saying that, I think you get a really nice scene here, which is also a really nice display piece. This also has a lot of play features as well as just the dollhouse functionality for play sets and things like that, and I just absolutely love it. The pieces are awesome, the minifigures are awesome, everything feels incredibly accurate to the film. I do, though, wish that Mooney and his little werewolf variant actually were the right colour, but nevertheless, I'm just glad we have Werewolf Lupin. I feel like there are a couple of things that could have been done with this set to make it even better. It's definitely not perfect, but in saying that, this thing is amazing and I would highly recommend it. And also, unlike majority of the Lego Harry Potter wave this year, I feel like this one actually does feel okay for its price point. I mean, this is the same price as the new Iron Man Hall of Armor. Like, that is just ridiculous. I would much rather get this. I feel like there's a lot more value with it here. It's also the same price for the most part as a lot of the Winter Village sets, and I feel like it does fit in line with that. And if you have got Hogsmeade already, this is going to be an amazing addition to your collection. But let me know what you guys think about this set in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below and check out the rest of my Lego Harry Potter reviews. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.